Good morning, everybody. This is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms, and it's a weekday, and we're still doing distance learning. So it's another Charter Moms chat to talk about sort of different issues and questions and things that we're facing during the coronavirus pandemic, and how we're going to cope with that. So I'd encourage you, please, if you're not already a member, please join the San Antonio Charter Moms discussion group, because we're sharing a lot of resources in there about how to give your kids the best education you can while we're all working from home, and how to problem solve things like meals and technology, and keeping your kids active and keeping your morale high, and food, all kinds of things like that. So please join the discussion group. Today we're going to talk about technology, which is what it's been on my mind. Yesterday was our first day of distance learning, and what I'm learning from reading the posts and the comments in the group is that each school is handling this a little differently. But most of the people in the group, obviously, if you're on Facebook, you do have access to technology, and I'm worried about the people who don't have access to technology. So that's kind of the two sides of this we'll talk about today, is like how are people, like my family, that we do have internet at home, we have computers and tablets, how are we managing distance learning, and folks like us, and then also what's happening out there in the community for people who do not have devices, don't have steady internet access, and I don't know the answer yet, and so I'm hoping that you all will share resources, and maybe as a group, maybe the Charter Moms community can step up and do something. I don't know what that is yet, but it's something I'm really concerned about, because I don't want kids to get left behind. So how's it going at our house? So my kids go to Great Hearts Monte Vista, and Great Hearts started distance learning on Monday, and what they did was they emailed us a link and a password so that we could download a packet for each kid, and then some of it needs to be printed out, not all of it, but you don't have to print it out. You can actually go by the school and pick it up, and they had kind of waves or kind of time windows based on last name when you could go pick stuff up. So we chose to download it at home. Just, we have a good printer. It's one less stop if we don't have to go to the school. So what I did was I went through the packet and figured out which parts actually needed to be printed out and which parts didn't. So fortunately, my son had his copy of White Fang at home. He had not taken it to school yet, but my daughter had taken her copy of Princess and the Goblin to school, but she had it on Kindle. So my son was able to do literature from the book, and then he likes to also listen to the audiobook. So there was a link to the audiobook in the packet, but we just decided to just download it. It was 99 cents. And then my daughter was reading on Kindle Princess and the Goblin. So it was sort of I would say it's a combination of, right, like the packet coming through, the email comes, we get the link, we download the packet, we print the sheets that they need to write on, but then like the actual book, they either had a hard copy or were able to read an ebook on a tablet. So we're kind of using a mix of printed and high tech. And then the packets for Great Hearts, they're due next Monday, and I need to read the instructions again, but I think we can just drop off the packets. We might do that, or if there's a way to scan and send it in, we might do that, but I need to, I just hadn't read that part of the directions yet, so I'll stay tuned. There's about 3 or 4 pages of instructions, so we just kind of dove in. So what we did was the parts that we did need to print, we put in binders. So this is my daughter's binder, and so we made a tab for her. We did a tab for each day of the week. For my son, it worked better to do, since he's in middle school, we did a tab for each grade. And yeah, they're able to work. I'm able to get a little bit of work done for my job, and but I guess I'm hearing about different techniques that other schools are using. So I guess some schools use Google Classroom, right? And so then I guess the kids log into a portal, and they're able to like access stuff that way. I'm interested to know like if y'all could comment, or I'll start a thread in the group. Like I'm hearing things like sometimes it works better on a laptop, sometimes it works better on a tablet with an app. Some families are having to use a combination of devices. So I'm interested to know like what are schools using, what how does it work with what technology you have at home. I've heard of families say like, well, we have a laptop, but it's 6 years old and it won't run the version of the software that the school is asking us to have. And just, there's always something, right, with technology. It's never as simple as you hope. And yeah, another thing too, I guess some families when they print stuff out, they realize that like, if they were only printing out a page here and there, their inkjet printer was fine. But now like they're looking at a packet that might have 100 pages, and maybe their printer's not set up for that. And if you're trying to order stuff online, some things are getting delayed, right? So like if you try to order a ream of paper, it might not, or a case of paper, it might not come until April. So so there are things that maybe used to be simpler but are more difficult now because of supply issues. So those are some of the issues that, I guess it's not, these aren't really serious problems. It's more just getting into a new routine. Like it took us a while just to get the packet kind of organized, to figure out like what's in the packet. And I think, as I mentioned yesterday, I was really blown away by how much work the teachers put into the packets, like finding the readings and handwriting, or like writing out their lectures that they normally would deliver in class. There's just a lot. There's a lot to it. I guess so. One thing I'm wondering about. Let's see. So for my kids, they have access to their teachers by email, so they can send an email if they have a question. I'm wondering, at other schools, are y'all doing are there set like video conference times? Are there sort of video conference office hours that the teachers are doing? Is it different for different age groups or different grade levels? So I'll comment here, or like I'll start a thread in the discussion group, because I'm just kind of curious like how different schools are handling it, and how families are finding it. Are their kids able to get the help that they need? And if there is like a video conference aspect, like is it for academic, or is it more social? Is it a little of both? I saw one of my friends, his daughter had a birthday, and he organized a Zoom call so they could sing happy birthday to her. So it's kind of tough for the March birthdays. They're not able to celebrate like they normally would. So I'm just wondering, what other so those are okay. So for families who have technology, right, where the schools are putting stuff out online, you have a printer or a device that you're able to access stuff at home. I'm worried about also the families who don't have internet or devices at home, and I'm wondering, what's out there to help them. So over the weekend, there was a really in-depth story that Alia Malik at the Express News reported on. She talked to families who had each family had a different set of issues. Like, so one family, they wanted to reconnect their internet at home, but they had been in arrears on their bill and had it cut off. And so even though the internet providers are offering like discounts for families with children at home or students, they couldn't get it connected again unless they paid the past balance due. So I don't know what the answer to that is. So, but I'm interested to hear suggestions of, how are families like that going to get reconnected? I don't know if this is happening locally, but I saw that like some school buses actually have Wi-Fi on them, right? So that kids can study on the way to and from school using Wi-Fi. And in some communities, I don't know if this is true in San Antonio yet, but in some communities, the buses with Wi-Fi are getting parked out in the neighborhoods where students can, get close enough to connect. The challenge with that is, we're under a stay-at-home order from the city, and so even if you are out in the open air, you still have to stay 6 feet apart from everybody. So, right? So like you can still go to parks, but you have to stay 6 feet apart from the other people at the parks or the greenways. So how many kids can you get within range of a school bus Wi-Fi while still maintaining a distance of at least 6 feet apart? I don't know what the answer to that is either, but I admire the creativity of, deploying the Wi-Fi buses. I've seen, and this is something covered in the paper and in local media like public radio or Rivard Report, that schools are issuing Chromebooks. So kind of like what the Great Hearts families are doing, where you drive by and you get a packet. At some districts, students are able to, like Southwest ISD, students drive by, and a teacher wearing gloves hands them a baggie that has a Chromebook in it, and they're able to go home and get that connected and do schoolwork on the Chromebook at home. And then some organizations like San Antonio ISD and like the SAISD Foundation, they're trying to purchase and trying to get donations to acquire even more devices so the students can get connected. I know there were programs already underway, like SAISD was issuing like hotspots that students could take home and plug in, and then they could connect multiple devices to the internet over that mobile hotspot. The thing is, the digital divide was already with us. It's just that because of having to practice social distancing and schools not being able to meet on campus, it's making the consequences more severe. So, like, a few months from now, are we going to be dealing with a group of students who are behind because they weren't able to access learning resources because their homes just are not and have never been set up to get internet? And it's a substantial number of families in San Antonio. So I don't know what the answer is, but I'm eager to hear suggestions. And if there's any way that the San Antonio Charter Moms community can mobilize to help this, I don't know if it's kind of like school by school or if it's district by district or if there's a citywide effort. But I'm open to suggestions, and let's keep the conversation going. Tell me what's happening in the community that we can amplify. Where can I direct SA Charter Moms members to provide help? Because it's not okay for kids to get left behind. Now, this is not a reason to just stop offering distance learning altogether. We don't know how long this is going to go on. And I know for my family, it's been really helpful to get back in a routine and have packets to work on. And the kids feel connected to their teachers again because they're seeing their handwriting and they're reading books, and it's just nice to come back to it, right? So I'm really grateful for the distance learning. And even my son, who's in special education because he's on the autism spectrum, he got a special extra packet that the team is making a special packet for every student with special needs so that their needs are met as well. And it describes what the accommodations are. But we can't use these obstacles as an excuse to stop, but we need to be caring for the people in our community so they don't get left behind. And I don't know what the answer is. I guess there's one more thing. We might talk about this more on a future episode, but if your kids are online more, you always have to be watching where they are, what they're doing, who they're interacting with to make sure they're safe. Because there's always a risk of strangers, getting access to them and presenting them with things that you don't want them to see, or strangers trying to get them to connect with them in the outside world. And I don't really know the answer to that, but this is another kind of invitation to share resources. I guess one website I've seen is Common Sense Media. They have they do movie ratings and things like that, but they're offering extra coverage on kind of distance learning and the kind of entertainment things that kids are getting into more because they're stuck at home. So I would say that you probably don't have time to get into it as much today as it needs to be. But just if your kids are online a lot, be extra vigilant about how safe they are. And we can start a thread about that in the group as well. Just are there any extra measures we need to take to keep our kids safe since they're spending more time online than they normally would? So I guess that is my ask. If you're not already a member, please join the San Antonio Charter Moms discussion group, and we'll talk about this more there, and what can the Charter Moms community do to address the digital divide in San Antonio. So okay, that's our talk about technology today, and I'll be back at around 9 a.m. Central Time tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.